Hello, this is how to install and run the latest version of the operating system RedoxOS. Written in Rust, started development 2015. The newest release is 0.9.0 from 2 years ago. So we're going to use the daily build. There are articles each month about the progress on development of this operating system. This is the report for July. There's the various new features that the developers have worked on. And at the very end of the page, there's instructions on how to test the daily images on a virtual machine. We're going to use QEMU. We're on a Linux computer right now. We need a file with demo and hard drive in the name. There's daily images. So we need to download from here the demo, not desktop, not server, and the larger file. So there's a hard drive for running inside virtual machines such as QEMU or VirtualBox, and then there's live disk for writing to a USB stick and booting on real hardware. So we actually want this one, hard drive. I have downloaded this file, 300 megabytes in size, and then we'll continue with the instructions. So let's see the QEMU instructions. Says that we're using x86-64. We already have installed QEMU and also Word Manager. And this is the long command line for x86-64, which is the AMD 64 CPU architecture. Let me actually copy the instructions and see what's specified in here. So it says that we have a file with the extension zstandard. We're going to extract this file. So on zstandard, and then the only file in there. Okay, let's see if the asterisk and file name work correctly. So if this glob works correctly, Redox demo x86-64, and then anything else, and then hard drive.img sounds okay. I would want to increase the amount of vCPU, CPU threads, and the amount of random access memory. I'm going to start by actually using this command line, and if it works okay, maybe I'll improve the amounts of vCPUs and random access memory on a future run. So we need a terminal. And I'm just running the command line that I have copied from the documentation. No such file or directory, because the extension is so it doesn't use the current directory, it uses the downloads directory. So how do we do that? Like this. Okay, bootloader asks for resolution. So we have the current monitor that's 1080p resolution. That's 1920 by 1080 pixels. We want something a bit smaller in all directions. So we want something that's not as tall. Maybe like this, 900 pixels in height, and then 1600 in width. Sounds okay. Let's try this one. Okay. So where we were with the list of available images, there are images for writing to a USB stick, then booting on real hardware, and then there's pre-generated virtual machine disk images, such as for QEMU and VirtualBox, so the ones with hard drive in name. But then there's versions server, that's 70 megabyte without any graphical user interface. Desktop, that's similar to the server offering, plus it has graphical user interface. And the demo, it contains an extra 230 megabytes of additional applications compared to the desktop version. So the instructions say that while it boots, we're going to be asked for a resolution. It's going to complete the boot, start the graphical user interface, in this case the desktop manager, the login manager. And there's a local user pre-created that's named user, has no password. There's another user which is called root and has the password all lowercase. Okay. Let's see if there's mouse grab. I cannot prove that there's a need to stop the mouse grab. So no password, login. Control Alt G to toggle the mouse behavior. Okay. Let's see if there's a way to resize best fit. It already did, which means that the pixels that the virtual machine wants to display are actually not scaled, not stretched, displayed as they are on my hardware monitor. Okay, let's see what's next. Trying out Redox. I'm not sure why the name of the operating system has two different variants. There's RedoxOS and then there's Redox. They should stick to the best branding. Branding is important. The official website is redox-os.org. Okay, so let's see what we have available. We're inside the QEMU virtual machine, which doesn't need special hardware, doesn't need Wi-Fi drivers, should have access to the internet. Let's prove that. There's Cosmic Terminal for the terminal emulator. Let's see if there's a ping available. Which ping is available? Which is available? Built-in shell command. Cool. And 0 packets received. Okay, so ping is limited to 4 packets, similar to the Windows version, whereas the Linux version will send ping pongs and receive pongs until you actually stop the command using Ctrl+C. So some of the executables seem to be available in /usr/bin. Let's see the content of that directory. There's autocompletion. Okay. There's display using columns. These are the executables that exist pre-installed on the larger of the 3 available daily images for the Redox operating system. So not the server one, not the desktop one, but the demo one. From what I see until now, it's at least somewhat similar to a Unix, Linux, POSIX style environment and operating system. There's a /usr/bin, there's executables in there. I recognize the names of these executables. So a minimal Unix user space seems to be available in here. There's su, sudo, sort, archiving executables such as tar. There's a binary named vim, du, diff. How does du work? There's usr share /usr/share/icons, vim91, neverball. Let's see if this button is a start menu like button, and it is. In the start menu we have elements, directories as it were, such as games. Let's see if neverball is there. We have run output in the QEMU terminal where we started the long QEMU command line. Yeah, I would be curious to see if I can run the OpenSSH SSH server or a similar SSH server on this operating system. Layer name. Very easy. Move the mouse to tilt the floor. So probably the operating system, the graphical user interface has mouse support. Also the text user interface has some mouse support from what I see. Move the mouse to tilt the floor. What is that? Ooh. Yeah, I have never seen this game before. Wait. How do we exit? One of pressing the ESC key, escape. Maybe something has locked up at this point. So the graphical user interface shell seems to still be working. is that? Or not? Yeah, so we're at a bad point in the life cycle of this installation. It's probably, I don't know, it has probably entered an infinite loop. I'm not sure how to get myself out of this thing. How can I stop the game? No top. PSAUX exists, kill all. Never ball. I'm not sure why more than one row is shown by PSAUX output. Kill 59. Yeah, I should just restart the virtual machine. Yeah. I'll quit. So I somehow managed to make the virtual machine non-responsive by opening the demo game and trying to exit from it. Let's see what other resolutions we have. So the one that we preferred until now is this one, 900 pixels, 16 by 9. I would want something that's tall but narrow. So the narrowest option for 960 pixels, let's see this guy. 1280 by 960, 4 by 3. Okay, so this is the main panel, similar to the Windows operating system probably. This is an application pinned, hopefully not running. Applications that are running have this white line above the icon inside the main panel. Yeah, so I don't see any process related to this application. I would expect a tooltip when I hover on top of the application with the application name. I don't really know the app names. Let's see if right click works. Not yet. What is this thing? Another chance to hard lock the machine probably. There's transparency in the window decoration. I cannot close the application. It did work or not. The desktop's main panel says that the application is still running. And is this Pixel Canon process with process ID 49. Let's see if there's man pages. Help output from kill. So kill sends signals. What is the signal to send? Instead of sig term, so sig term is sent by default. Let's see if it just works. And it does. It has stopped the process of this demo application. What is this thing? A periodic table. I cannot maximize it. This window is semi-model, so it looks like a bug to me. I would expect model applications to block the parent window or stay on top or something. The parent window is blocked, but it's not grayed out or something. Something's wrong. And the fact that I can move around the parent window is also interesting. It's not clear to me that the problem is that I need to close the child model window. Oh, what is this thing? So if I close a child model window, all sorts of other model windows appear. Yeah, looks like an issue to me. How do we close the parent application then? Okay, what's this thing? Application, graphical user interface, image viewer. How do we send the key? Print screen. To applications with identical icons. Maybe this one is the text editor and the other one is the, I know, the PDF viewer. I cannot see the name of the application anywhere, which I guess it's a bug. So when I hover on top of the icon, it doesn't say PDF viewer. When I look at the window decoration, I do not see anywhere the name of the application. I just see fit, width, and height. I have no clue how to get to the file about dialog to see details about the name of the application. About Cosmic Text Editor. Okay. So the about box is, I know what, an overlay. Keyboard input does work. So it opens the about box in split inside the main application. So the text editor has one window and the window is split in two. The right half is the about box and the left half is the tabbed editor itself. And there's no splitter between these. You cannot resize. Yeah, interesting choice. Clicking on GPL 3.0 only doesn't seem to do much. Clicking on these things that look like leaks, I'm not sure if they work. The close button does work. Yeah, so immediately I'm not sure how stable this operating system is. Maybe some of the graphical user interface applications apps are not that stable or expose issues inside the operating system. The question would be if you create a virtual machine with beefy resources, a ton of vCPUs, a ton of random access memory, and you maybe don't install the graphical user interface or install the server variant, Can then you install a SSH server and then only install text user interface applications or other command line apps, such that you can avoid the applications that might trigger issues in the operating system. This is probably the file manager, this icon here. So the help about box is in the main menu, view, and then about name of the file. Opened inside a pane inside the window as the text editor. The rounded corners don't look that great. It's like pixels are missing in here. And let's see the pièce de résistance, the web browser. Double clicking on the window decoration, the window title. I'm not sure does anything. Let's see what this button does. So this is the button for maximize from what I see. So in the area of the window title bar where the window icons are close and resize, restore, maximize. I would expect tooltips when I hover on top of the close button. I would expect icons in the title bar, why not? Okay, so this web browser looks like one of the web browsers that are more portable and have fewer graphical user interface library dependencies. I'm not sure what application is. How can we find out? Where is the context menu? Strange mouse cursor and different mouse cursor inside the web browser than outside the web browser. What does this button do? Close. What does this button do? Stop. Yeah, so two buttons that look identical and do very different things. How do you open a new tab? Control T. Nope, no tabs, probably. Right click on the scroll bar. So from what I see, there's GTK3 apps, X11 client apps, and Wayland client apps. There's a binary package manager with binary packages available. Let's see in here. So we saw Cosmic Files, which is the file manager, the Cosmicator, which is the text editor. Let's see if Git comes pre-installed. Does. We saw periodic table. Proofreading issue in pthread. Doom engine pre-Doom. Okay, terminal games written in Rust. And then there was the package manager. Let's go there. Install a package, package install, package upgrade, package list, lists, package contents. How do we search for packages? pkg -- help man pkg. I'm not sure what's the equivalent of the man pages in this operating system. There's a search. So pkg search. How to increase the font size in the terminal? Control mouse wheel. Nope. Control shift plus, control plus, control minus. Control minus does work. And control plus. Okay, let's see if they have Midnight Commander. Package search requires sudo because why? Let's see if there's packages to upgrade. The user doesn't have password. Now I'm the user root. QEMU works. Control L does not work. Clear does work. Free df doesn't say anything about swap space. Free minus h df minus h. Top does not exist. ps space aux works. Mount, no such thing. Okay, so let's do first upgrade all of the packages. Package upgrade. Let's see if copy paste of text works. It does not. So from the host operating system towards the virtual machine. Package upgrade. PKG upgrade is not recognized. I'm not sure then where the issue is. Either the book is for the release version of RedoxOS, which would be strange, because the release is so old, 2 years old. Update packages if nothing is specified. So a spelling issue. Specified is written with a C, not with an S. So we should go pkg update, not pkg upgrade. Fetch complete. What do you mean by fetch complete? So this probably also downloads the metadata of packages that are available in the remote. List installed packages. So this text is wrong, says list package contents instead of saying lists installed packages. So there's Vim pre-installed, Bash, curl for downloading files, DOSBox, DOS emulator, interesting choice. Pre-Doom, we saw that. GNU awk, Gears, whatever that is. Let's see what Gears is. How do we open a new tab? Control Shift T. Gears. What is Gears? How do we switch to Gears? I'm not sure where in the taskbar is the icon of the Gears application. So maybe these are just pinned applications, not applications that are running. That would be strange. Let's see if Alt Tab works. Nope. So what's the actual speed of this demo application? It's huge if I move the mouse. Otherwise, it's, I know, 0.2 frames per second. Okay, let's see what Gears is. What is that? The application has swallowed the terminal. That was strange. So after I have closed the graphical user interface application, I wasn't returned to the REPL, read, evaluate, print loop, which is what? So double clicking the title bar. Oof. Oof. Where is the window? So I have double clicked on the title bar and it has maximized the window. And then if I double click the title bar, it has restored the window and minimized all the windows or something. I'm not sure how to get back to the other windows. So you need to move around all of the windows in order to see an application that's in the background. That's strange. I'm not sure how to move this window. Okay, so let's see what the terminal shell is. Doesn't seem to have sh in name. Yeah, I'm not sure what the equivalent of bash is. Ion SUPS. I know, maybe Ion. Who knows? Bash is here. PSAUX works. PS3. No such thing. Yeah, so the fact that applications can the graphical user interface windows can be placed on top of the main panel is not that great. The fact that some applications don't have a minimize button is not that great. And then if I minimize apps, I'm not sure how to get to them. Minimize button doesn't seem to actually work. Yeah, so I'm not sure I could survive in the graphical user interface environment in this operating system, but maybe I could survive at the terminal. Again, if there's an SSH server available. So let's see that. PKG search. PKG search doesn't work. search for a package. I'm not sure how I saw the list of, the list of packages that are installed. You can see it with pkg list, and then for searching, probably you need to browse the website of the package repository. So on this website, we have the product manual of the operating system, doc.redox-os.org/book. In the file for the package manager, binary package manager, pkg.html. At the end of the file, it says available packages can be found on the website of the package manager's remote repositories. There's for architectures, AMD64, Intel x86 32-bit, i5-86, ARM64, AR64, and RISC-V, RISC-V, 64-bit. So let's see what else we have in here. There's libssh2 and OpenSSH. I'm not sure if it's just the client or maybe both. Let's see if we can install it. pkgr extension for the binary package itself. Downloaded and then installed. Which SSH, where are you? This is the SSH client from the OpenSSH project. How do we get to the version? Yeah, no man pages, that's not that great. What about the SSHD? There is such a thing. How do we start SSHD? In the documentation page for trying out Redox, we're going to look at some of the applications available in here. So we saw Git was pre-installed. And then in text user interface mode, we have available as editor Kibi, similar to GNU Nano. There we also saw Vim, and let's try to make the SSH server work. I have asked Google Search AI mode how to do it. Says sudo pkg install OpenSSH, which sounds correct. Then it says that there might be a /etc directory. Let's prove that's the case. There is such a thing. Let's see if there's an etc SSH directory. There's a configuration file for SSHD. Let's just look first. SSHD. Port 22. Looks very familiar. Permit root login, prohibit password. The only user that has a password is the user root. We cannot actually connect using the user root. So we need to set a password for the current user. Or maybe not. Let's see if password, let's permit empty password, no. So we'll need to set the password for the current user. How do we exit in here? Escape, Control X. Oh, So it says similar to GNU Nano. Okay, but how do we exit? I have searched on Google RedoxOS Kibi, takes us to the package manager definition of this package, Kibi. In here says package source github.com. So maybe this is the one. Less than 1000 lines of Rust code, source code. UTF-8 support. A very minimal list of dependencies, and hopefully Ctrl Q works. Not really. Yeah, how do we exit here? So maybe you exit the text editor if you didn't change anything by closing the terminal emulator tab. Okay, let's see how we'll change the password of the current user and then try to connect from the host computer using the SSH protocol. Or let's just see, maybe we can see the SSH server from the host computer already. How do we find out the settings of the network interface card of the virtual machine? In the output from the QEMU process, we can see various issues happening inside the operating system. We can see stuck walks, unhandled exceptions in kernel mode, /usr/bin/ion. Many of these. I have asked on Google Search AI mode, what is the IPv4 address of a QEMU VM started on Linux with a command line like, and then I pasted the command line. And it says that from what it can see, we're using Intel E1000, we're using QEMU SLIRP, SLIRP, which means that from the host we cannot connect towards the virtual machine because virtual machines live in an isolated network address translation NAT network. But we can, for instance, expose the port 22 as port 2222. Let's see how that works. How can we stop QEMU? So Redox start menu and then log out. I'm not sure it works. After the first crashes and issues inside the kernel mode, maybe the entire operating system becomes unstable or unreliable. Maybe that's why we have issues. After the first issue, it's easier to trigger additional issues. Okay, let's say the command line. Okay, we need the net 0. Where is that? Net dev user. Okay, so I want to connect via the SSH protocol. I need to add a forwarding rule, net dev user. We have that. ID equals net 0. We have that. And then this host forward. Let's see if it starts or if QEMU complains. What was that? 4x3, 960 height. Okay, and we're going to need to enable the SSH server. I asked the Google Search AI mode RedoxOS how to change the password of the current user. Says that it's similar to Linux, pass WD. Let's see if that's the case. Current password is nothing. No echo. Cool. Let's see if we can log in using this password. So logout now works. I have provided a new password and it seems to work okay. So we need to do the next steps in configuring the SSH server. Okay, let's see this adventure. Can we move the windows a bit? Okay, so it says we have installed the OpenSSH server. That's great. The configuration inside /SC/SSH/SSHD config seems to be okay. We have changed the password of the local user. That's sudoer, but not the user root, which is called user. Now we can try to create the SSH key pair for the host. Sudo password for the current user. SSH minus, where are you? I'm not sure. Let's use bash. Wow. Maybe not a good idea to use bash. Gen minus A. I'm having big difficulties writing text to the terminal. SSH minus key gen space minus A. Okay. EC ED 25519. Seems okay. Now we can run the SSH server. Good idea to not background it and have full debug verbose logs. SSHD minus uppercase D minus lowercase d. Set groups not implemented. Execution with an absolute path. So what? Okay. Let's exit bash. Maybe that's a problem. Control D doesn't work. Exit does work. So /usr bin. Ooh, what the heck is happening? /usr. /usr/bin. So don't use autocompletion because something wrong has happened. SSHD. Let's see if this is the actual path of the SSHD executable. And it sounds very promising. Says it's listening on all network interface cards, port 22. So let's try from the host operating system. So we should use SSH command line. A user is named user. localhost, and port. How do we specify the port? I don't know. -P maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. Maybe the SSHD port, OpenSSH port towards this operating system, RedoxOS, is still work in progress. Let's see if there are some errors. Closing a socket, handle with no ref. Yeah, or maybe I'm not using SSH correctly. SSH -H man SSH / minus lowercase p. So minus lowercase p is the port to connect to. And we can see that it indeed used the correct port because we can see that the SSH server on the virtual machine has seen the connection try. Yeah, this is where I'll stop my exploration. So this is a work in progress operating system. It started as a Rust operating system with microkernel design. I'm not sure I know an operating system with microkernel design that actually is not a hybrid one. And then in time, as the operating system has matured, the functionality where you can port text user interface applications from other POSIX like operating system to systems towards RedoxOS has improved and is improving, and many of the monthly Git commits in the Git repositories of this operating system are actually related to porting existing, maybe written in C programming language software from other POSIX Linux or Linux operating systems towards this operating system. There's relibc, the C library, so the equivalent of GNU glibc, the most important and low-level user mode C library in the POSIX operating systems, but in this case it interfaces with the user, with the kernel mode from the Redox operating system. And then, as you saw in the list of binary packages available for this operating system that can be installed using the pkg command line package manager, there's various libraries which have imported from POSIX-like operating systems that use relibc and that work correctly, including there's graphical user interface libraries such as GTK3, there's Cairo, there's X libraries, Wayland protocols, which will make in time easier to add and port more and more software to this operating system. But the minimum minimorum things that I would require from an operating system don't seem to be available for me and my use cases. So I would want at least an OpenSSH server that works correctly, as few crashes as possible when I'm running just text user interface software. So this is it. Thank you.